At 76, Joe Walsh finally reveals the truth about Randy Meisner. Joe Walsh and Randy Meisner, two legendary members of the Eagles, helped shape one of the most iconic sounds in rock history. While fans know their soaring harmonies and unforgettable performances, few truly understand the personal struggles, conflicts, and untold stories that unfolded away from the spotlight. This journey promises to uncover the hidden truths behind their time in the band, tales of ambition, heartbreak, and resilience that shaped not only their music, but also their lives. Prepare for shocking revelations about what really happened behind the scenes. Randy Meisner's early music journey. Born on March 8, 1946 in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, Randy Meisner grew up in a humble farming family of Volga German descent. His early life was shaped by the simplicity of rural America, where music became a source of comfort and inspiration. His mother's gentle singing and his grandfather's violin playing planted the seeds of melody in his young heart. These intimate family moments gave him an emotional connection to sound long before he picked up an instrument of his own. At just 10 years old, Meisner's destiny was forever altered when he saw Elvis Presley perform on The Ed Sullivan Show. The energy, charisma, and raw power of Presley's music ignited in him a fierce determination to pursue a career in music. From that moment, Randy devoted himself to his craft, starting with a self-taught guitar before gravitating toward the bass. He was captivated by the soulful grooves of Motown and drew inspiration from the rhythmic foundations that defined the era. This blend of small-town roots, family influences, and the electrifying spark of rock and roll set the stage for Randy Meisner's journey into music. His path from a farm boy in Nebraska to a future founding member of the Eagles reflects both the power of inspiration and the resilience of chasing dreams against the odds. Randy Meisner's journey before Eagles. Before Randy Meisner rose to fame as a founding member of the Eagles, his journey through the music world was filled with both ambition and bitter disappointment. At just 15 years old, Meisner joined his first band, the Drive-In Dynamics, in his hometown of Scottsbluff, Nebraska. With the group, he recorded an EP titled So Fine, an early glimpse of his budding talent and passion for performance. The experience gave him confidence and a taste of the professional music world, even though it was far from glamorous. In 1966, chasing bigger dreams, Meisner moved to Los Angeles and became a member of the band The Poor. Life in the city was tough. The group barely scraped by, playing small venues while trying to make a name for themselves, despite the hardships. Randy's bass playing and high harmonies began to stand out. Yet, financial struggles and lack of commercial success kept him and the band constantly on edge, living from one gig to the next. A major turning point came in 1968 when Meisner joined Poco, a band blending country and rock in a style that would later influence the Eagles themselves. He contributed significantly to their groundbreaking debut album, Pickin' Up the Pieces. But before the record was even released, internal conflicts and tensions within the band led to his dismissal, in a move that left a permanent scar. Meisner's image was even replaced on the album cover, his face swapped out for a picture of a dog. This humiliating rejection deeply affected Randy, creating a psychological wound that lingered throughout his career. While he continued to push forward musically, the experience left him wary of the volatile dynamics within bands and distrustful of how easily relationships in the industry could crumble. Still, it also fueled his determination to keep striving for success, even as he carried the emotional weight of betrayal. Randy Meisner's early struggles remind us that the path to greatness is often paved with setbacks. His perseverance through disappointment and hardship set the stage for his eventual triumph with the Eagles, proving that even bitter beginnings can lead to legendary chapters in music history. Meisner's voice shaped the Eagles. After years of setbacks and searching for his place in the music industry, Randy Meisner's defining moment came in 1971 when he became one of the founding members of the Eagles, alongside Don Henley, Glenn Frey, and Bernie Leadon. For a farm boy from Nebraska who once doubted his place in the fast-moving world of Los Angeles, this was a chance at redemption. His role as the band's bassist and his soaring falsetto vocals became essential in shaping the Eagles' trademark sound, a blend of rock, country, and harmony that would dominate American music throughout the 1970s. From the group's debut album, Eagles, 1972, Meisner made his mark with Take the Devil, a moody and introspective track that showcased his ability to balance depth with melody. On Desperado, 1973, his contribution grew with the energetic Certain Kind of Fool, while On the Border, 1974, saw him delivering the lively Midnight Flyer. Each of these songs reflected his versatility, whether it was in delivering heartfelt lyrics or adding the subtle yet powerful falsetto harmonies that gave the Eagles their distinctive edge. But it was in 1975 that Meisner reached his peak with Take It to the Limit. As both co-writer and lead vocalist, he created one of the band's most enduring ballads. The song's sweeping orchestration and emotional intensity carried it to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100, cementing its place as one of the great anthems of the decade. More importantly, it became Randy Meisner's signature performance, a song that audiences demanded at nearly every concert. The moment when his falsetto soared on the chorus turned him into an icon of vulnerability and strength, embodying the emotional heart of the Eagles. Meisner's contributions went beyond individual songs. His bass lines anchored the group's sound with subtle precision, while his vocal harmonies blended seamlessly with Henley and Frey, creating the lush textures that made tracks like Peaceful Easy Feeling and Lion Eyes timeless classics. Without his high, aching falsetto, the Eagles' layered harmonies would have lost much of their power. His presence gave balance to the group, where Henley and Frey often brought sharpness and control. Meisner added warmth, fragility, and humanity. Though often quieter than his bandmates, Meisner was a cornerstone of the Eagles during their rise to fame. His musicality and emotive voice helped define not just the sound of the band, but the sound of an entire era in American rock. Randy Meisner's Eagles exit conflict, even at the height of success with the Eagles. Randy Meisner's journey was marked by internal struggles that eventually drove him away from the band he helped create. His signature ballad, Take It to the Limit, had become a fan favorite and was demanded at nearly every concert. But the pressure of delivering its soaring falsetto night after night took a heavy toll on his health and confidence. Suffering from stomach ulcers and recurring fevers, Meisner often felt physically drained and emotionally cornered. The breaking point came in 1977 during a show in Knoxville, Tennessee. When the audience called for an encore of Take It to the Limit, Meisner refused, citing exhaustion and illness. Glenn Frey, determined to give fans what they expected, confronted him backstage. What began as words quickly escalated into a heated argument and even physical confrontation. The fight exposed the mounting tensions within the band and the personal cost of life under relentless touring schedules. Following the grueling Hotel California tour, Meisner quietly left the Eagles without a formal farewell. His departure lacked the grandeur one might expect for a founding member. Instead, it was subdued, almost overshadowed by the band's continued rise. In an ironic twist of fate, Timothy B. Schmidt was chosen as his replacement, the very same musician who had once replaced Meisner in Poco. Randy Meisner's exit symbolized both the sacrifices and the fractures that fame can bring. While the Eagles soared on without him, his absence was deeply felt in the harmonies and emotional depth he had brought to their music. His departure remains one of the most poignant chapters in the band's history. Randy Meisner, a post-Eagles story. After leaving the Eagles at the peak of their fame, Randy Meisner tried to carve out his own identity as a solo artist. In 1978, he released his self-titled debut album, Randy Meisner, which featured the single Hearts on Fire. The song managed to climb into the top 20, giving him a brief taste of solo success. However, his following albums failed to reach the same commercial or critical acclaim. Without the powerful platform of the Eagles behind him, Meisner's career began to fade, and the crowds that once filled arenas dwindled into smaller, scattered audiences at modest venues in an effort to remain active. Meisner joined smaller groups and participated in collaborative tours, but these efforts could not recapture the magic of his earlier days. The man who once stood on some of the world's biggest stages found himself slowly slipping out of the limelight, overshadowed by both the ongoing success of the Eagles and the changing landscape of the music industry. His delicate falsetto, once the soul of stadium ballads, became a fading echo in the crowded field of American rock. Away from the stage, Meisner's personal life was marked by turbulence and heartbreak. His marriage to Jennifer Barton, which began in 1963, unraveled in 1981, with the pressures of fame and constant touring driving them apart. Years later, in 1996, Meisner remarried Lana Ray. Their relationship, however, was plagued with conflict, accusations of abuse, and public disputes that stained his already fading reputation. Tragedy struck in 2016 when Lana Ray died in a shocking accident. Reports revealed that she was fatally shot when a rifle discharged unexpectedly, a case widely described as a misfire. The incident sparked intense media scrutiny and public debate, leaving Meisner devastated and further retreating from public life. Though he was eventually cleared of wrongdoing, the controversy added another heavy burden to his already complicated legacy. Randy Meisner's post-Eagles years reflect a painful contrast. From a man who once helped define an era of American rock to one whose career and personal life unraveled under the weight of loss, conflict, and tragedy. Randy Meisner, final years in passing. In the years following personal tragedies and professional decline, Randy Meisner's health began to deteriorate rapidly. By 2004, he had suffered a serious heart attack that left him weakened and more withdrawn from public life. In the years that followed, he was diagnosed with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, a condition worsened by years of smoking and the physical toll of constant touring during his prime. Breathing became a daily struggle, and his once powerful falsetto voice, a defining feature of the Eagles' sound, was reduced to a frail echo of its former brilliance. As his health declined, Meisner retreated into a quiet, almost reclusive lifestyle. No longer the man who once stood in front of thousands of cheering fans, he instead chose the company of his beloved pets and the tranquility of gardening. Friends and acquaintances noted how he found comfort in simple, everyday routines, away from the chaos of fame and the painful memories that haunted him. While many of his peers continued to make headlines, Meisner seemed to fade into the background, quietly living out his final years far from the spotlight. On July 26, 2023, Randy Meisner passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 77. News of his death spread quickly across the music world, sparking an outpouring of grief and remembrance. Fans celebrated his soaring contributions to the Eagles' sound, particularly his unforgettable performance of "Take It to the Limit," a ballad that had come to symbolize both his gift and his struggle. However, controversy arose over the way his passing was acknowledged. The Eagles' official website released only a short, detached statement noting his death and contribution to the band. For many fans, the tribute felt cold and insufficient, especially given his role as a founding member. Critics argued that Meisner deserved more recognition, not only for his musical contributions, but also for the personal sacrifices he made during the band's most intense years. In the end, Randy Meisner's final chapter was marked by both peace and lingering shadows. While he found solace in solitude and simple joys, his passing also reopened old wounds about how the music industry often neglects its quieter contributors. To the fans who never forgot him, however, Randy Meisner will always remain the gentle soul whose voice carried the emotional weight of the Eagles' music, and whose struggles made his artistry all the more human. Joe Walsh breaks silence on Randy. In 2025, Joe Walsh stunned the music world with a confession that peeled back decades of silence surrounding Randy Meisner's troubled history with the Eagles. Speaking with uncharacteristic gravity, Walsh admitted that Meisner had been swallowed and abandoned by the system, a stark acknowledgement of the industry's tendency to exploit sensitive artists. For the first time, Walsh publicly shouldered part of the blame, calling himself a coward for not standing up to defend his friend when tensions escalated in the 1970s and beyond. His words painted a picture of a man haunted by guilt and regret, acknowledging that Meisner had been left vulnerable and unprotected. Even more explosive was Walsh's revelation that Meisner had been deliberately isolated from later reunion tours, his presence considered inconvenient by some within the band's inner circle. According to Walsh, the decision was never about talent. Randy's voice and bass playing were irreplaceable, but rather about control and maintaining a narrative that excluded those deemed too fragile for the grueling demands of touring. The confession confirmed long-held suspicions among fans who had always wondered why Meisner, a founding member, was conspicuously absent from most of the Eagles' high-profile revivals. The reaction was immediate and fierce. Social media exploded with the hashtag #JusticeForRandy, as fans demanded recognition and a proper tribute to the bassist who had given the world Take It to the Limit. While some praised Walsh for his honesty and courage, others questioned his timing. Was this a sincere admission of guilt, or a calculated attempt to reposition himself as the band's moral compass late in life? The controversy only deepened as media outlets dissected every word, framing Walsh either as a truth-teller or an opportunist. Don Henley's response did little to calm the storm. In a brief and dismissive statement, he acknowledged Meisner's contributions but avoided addressing Walsh's accusations directly. The cold tone fueled speculation that internal fractures within the Eagles still ran deep. Even after Meisner's passing, to many, Henley's indifference contrasted sharply with Walsh's emotional candor, reinforcing the image of Meisner as the overlooked casualty of a band consumed by ambition and control. Walsh's confession remains one of the most shocking revelations in classic rock history. It not only reignited debates about loyalty, fame, and exploitation within the Eagles, but also underscored the tragedy of Randy Meisner's life. Whether born of guilt, love, or late career self-reflection, Joe Walsh's words forced the public to confront a painful truth. Behind the Eagles' legendary harmonies was a broken bond and a forgotten friend who deserved far better. Randy Meisner, beyond the music. Randy Meisner's legacy in 2025 remains defined by his soaring falsetto and steady bass lines that helped shape country rock. His performance on Take It to the Limit became a timeless anthem, covered by countless artists and cherished across generations. Though inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1998 with the Eagles, Meisner's contributions were often overshadowed by Don Henley and Glenn Frey. Yet, fans and fellow musicians continue to honor him as the emotional heartbeat of the band, a gentle soul whose artistry gave the Eagles much of their depth and enduring magic. Randy Meisner, a bittersweet conclusion. Randy Meisner's story is one of extraordinary talent overshadowed by tragedy and neglect. Though his falsetto and bass lines helped define the Eagles, he was too often forgotten after the spotlight moved on. Joe Walsh's late admission in 2025 offered a glimmer of justice, acknowledging the betrayal and isolation Meisner endured. Yet, this tale is more than personal. It underscores a universal truth. Music can outlive generations. But fame often leaves scars, distorting friendships and fairness. Meisner's legacy reminds us that behind every harmony lies a human cost, and that true recognition sometimes comes too late. If Randy Meisner's bittersweet journey touched you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more untold stories of rock legends.